everything seems to be in order. Okay, let's go. Good evening, everyone. This is Rudy here. I'm gonna be starting Miles Edgeworth Ace Attorney Investigations on the Nintendo DS. This is gonna be a new series of streams, so from today I will be focusing exclusively on that one. Hopefully everything goes well. Let's start with the first episode, I guess. March 14th, 1:16 a.m. Location unknown. To make sure the defendant is found guilty, what other choice do I have? That's the job of a prosecutor, after all. That may be true, but why? Why go this far? Hi, bro. You've been waiting? Sorry that you had to wait. I was a bit late. I had dinner a bit late. Sorry, maybe I wasn't clear enough, but a guilty verdict is all that matters to me. No matter what the cost. I'm a prodigy among prosecutors. Always have been, always will be. March 14th, 2:05 a.m. Prosecutor's building, 12th floor, hallway. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, but I did publish this on my Discord. That's one of the benefits, because that way you know if I'm gonna be running late or anything. But yeah, I was late to have dinner, so I couldn't start until now, unfortunately. But okay, let's go. Most famous quote? It's hard to believe that I've been away from my office for a whole month. I hope Detective Gumshoe has been keeping an eye on my office and keeping it clean. I was gonna say, do I have control already? The door is unlocked. Detective Gumshoe? What's the smell? It's very familiar. Blood? What the? What's the meaning of this? Freeze! Identify yourself. Shut up. You've got some nerve committing murder in a prosecutor's office. Is that a threat? Let me make one thing very clear. What? No one gets away with committing murder in my office. No one. I mean, well, no one's tried so far, so... Well, you know what I mean. My name is Miles Edgeworth, and I work as a prosecutor in my local district. Little did I know that upon my return home after a month abroad, I would be thrust into a multitude of cases and some very frantic and busy days. March 14th, 2:56 a.m. High Prosecutor's Offices, room 1202. What's the point of saying it then? Well, as far as I know anyway. Yeah, but that's why I said what I said, because it felt like super dramatic, but when you put it in context, I mean, yeah, of course no one gets away with it. I mean, no one ever tried, so obviously no one does. So, but he said it like it was happening every other week or something like that, so I thought that was a bit, well, silly. I finished photographing the victim's body, sir. Very well. Please continue your investigation. Yes, sir! Ah! It's Edgeworth, sir! Are you okay, sir? Keep it down, detective. This is a crime scene. When I heard that the murder had taken place in your office, I ran up here straight away. This is Dick Gumshoe. He is a detective with the local precinct, and the one they assigned to handle this murder case for the time being. You're looking a little pale, sir. Are you hurt? No, I'm perfectly fine. However... look what they did to your office! It's totally trashed! I'll say, the culprits sullied my floor with dirt rather well. No one gets away with tracking mud in my office. I mean, no one's tried before, so obviously, yeah. But, you know what I mean. Wow, sounds like you're getting really burned up over this whole thing. This crime was committed in my office, so it is my responsibility to solve it. Ho ho, that's just like you, Mr. Edgeworth. Okay, time to do some investigating. Agreed. Our first course of action is to gather relevant facts and leads. You think he looks pale? He doesn't look any paler than usual. I suppose. We must not overlook anything, no matter how small, if we are to find the truth. So I'll keep any leads or information we find etched into the forefront of my mind. Speaking of things that pique my curiosity, why of all places did the murder occur in my office? Crime scene, my office. Is it really coincidence that the murder took place in my office? I get the nagging feeling that this is something important to keep in mind. Yeah, I was wondering that myself, sir. I mean, you can't really say it's just a coincidence, can you? No, not really, especially because of this. The key to your office? For security reasons, this office's door has a lock built into it. Well, usually, they all do. What do you mean, sir? If you think about it carefully and use logic, it should become clear to you. Logic? What kind of nonsense is that? By finding the connection between two pieces of information and connecting them, new information is born. Ah, that reminds me of, there was a gameplay element like this in a game I played not too long ago, The Sinking City. That reminds me of that, actually. So how do you use it? First, I recall information through the logic button and then connect them together. Yeah, it sounds like it's exactly the same thing. Now, to touch the logic button and recall the facts. It's on the touch screen. Crime scene, my office. Is it really coincidence that the murder took place in my office? It's the only two, so... For security reasons, all prosecutors' doors are outfitted with locks, which means it would have been hard for the murderer and the victim to get in here. Ergo, it's impossible to dismiss the location of this crime as mere coincidence. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking, sir. There must be a reason why someone infiltrated my room. What was the killer after? Why did this happen in my office? What was the killer after? What's the goal? You're really on the ball today, Mr. Edgeworth. That's some beautiful logic, sir. With a capital L. Yes, well, when you follow leads to their conclusion, only the truth remains. However, the information doesn't line up properly, I may stray far from the truth as well. But if I think carefully before piecing leads together, the logic should flow. So that's what it's all about in this one, then. Well, let's get started with our investigation, shall we? Yes, sir! Begin investigation. High Prosecutor's offices. The basis of any good investigation is to examine everything, sir. I know that, and when I want to examine something, I simply touch the examine button. Oh, if you ever feel lost and want to talk, just touch the partner button, okay? I'll give you great, precise advice as an ace investigator, sir. Something to try later if I have free time, I suppose. How useful can he be? So, how do you control the character in this? Ah, okay, with the D-pad. Well, there's a gun. What have we here? Could this perhaps be the murder weapon? If so, it would mean that the killer made their escape after disposing of their gun here. I think it would be important to have a look at the impact on the wall, because the guy shot at the wall like as a threat. So to at least see if the bullet shot by that gun fits the gun marks found on the bullet that was in the body of the victim, something like that. I think I've seen one of these before. Care to enlighten me as to where? Oh, I know. I was to shoot the exact same model, I think. Detective. I don't really like guns all that much. I mean, they're really dangerous. Well, he has a history with guns, and believing that he killed his dad accidentally by throwing a gun at someone, so... But now that I think about it, you do see this model around the precinct a lot, sir. I don't use mine much except in emergency, so that's why I didn't recognize it. So it's the same type of revolver as the ones used by this precinct's detectives. Found at the crime scene, it's the same model as those used by the precinct detectives. Room 181 right now. Do you have anything to report? Sir, yes, sir. Nothing out of the ordinary right now, sir. And yet, there's something out of the ordinary right in front of my eyes. Talk about a contradiction. Something out of the ordinary, huh? I should look around a bit more. I hope we can solve this case quickly. I'd like to return relaxing on the sofa. That thing looks a billion times softer than my mattress at home. Can I sit on it too? Just for a little while, sir. Detective Gumshoe, you know I can't allow that. Until this case is solved, neither of us has time to spare, let alone rest. You're right, sir. I'm gonna work hard and be a real trooper to the end. Even once this case is over, I don't think you can afford to take any time off. But I wanted to have a look at the bullet hole. Or maybe I have to talk to the police officer there. How is it coming along? Please, I need absolute silence. Fingerprint lifting is a delicate art. Well, I never. Is this yet another batch of fresh flowers? The ones that come with a card attached every month, like clockwork for you. Yep. Speaking of that, let's see what's on the card this month, sir. All will be resolved. Wendy. Wendy Oldbag. Oh, Miss Irony. How painful are thy thorns. Wendy, isn't that the name of that old lady with the whiny voice that stalk? That's enough, detective. You need not remind me further. Ugh. Well, it's a good thing my Steel Samurai doll was spared any harm. Speaking of which, I still haven't actually sat down and watched any of that show. What's it about again? Well, I don't know much about it myself, but the hero of the Steel Samurai Warrior of Neo-Old Tokyo is the Steel Samurai, and his goal is to defeat the evil magistrate. It's a show geared towards kids. However, its high production values and riveting plot draws in a number of adults as well. Spin-offs like Pink Princess, Warrior of Little Old Tokyo, and The Nickel Samurai, along with the deluge of merchandise and even the new stage show, gives it presence. You sure know a lot. Are you sure you're not some sort of rabbit fanboy? Of course not. Anyone that keeps up with society knows at least this much. And that conversation lasted longer than expected. Let us return to the investigation. Oh, it's your trophy, the Knight of Prosecutors, right? King of Prosecutors, and it's not a trophy, it's a shield. They only sent this to the winning prosecutor, right? Yes, but I have no real interest in the perceived worth of other people. As for my own worth, that is something only I can determine for myself. That's so slick, sir. I'm gonna have to try saying that sometime. Unfortunately for him, his monetary worth is tied directly to his worth to me. Watch out for the teacup fragments there, sir. That killer is going to pay. These tea sets. Yikes, you're really mad over this. This tea set is very dear to my heart and can only be bought in England. It cost more than your whole month's paycheck. What? Now I feel like the killer has wasted one of my monthly paychecks. Yeah, it's a TV show in the universe of the Ace Attorney series. The actor playing the Steel Samurai was framed by someone in the first Ace Attorney game, and in that game you had to prove his innocence in court. Let's see. There seems to be a wallet down there. Can I? Reminds me of that samurai from Captain Rainbow. Yeah, I forgot his name now. They finished photographing the body, so it should be alright to examine this area. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. What do we have here? Hey, I think I've seen one of these before. It's a police badge, detective. No, okay, it's Edgeworth talking here. It's a police badge, detective. Oh, hey, I have the exact same thing, actually. What a coinkydink. Let's take a look inside. Buddy Faith, detective. Mr. Buddy Faith. It would appear that our victim was a detective just like you. According to his badge and ID, Buddy Faith was a precinct detective. I seem to have gathered a few pieces of pertinent information. Now to calmly use some logic and figure out if any of them are connected to each other. Like so? Why did this happen in my office? What was the killer after? The victim was a detective. Well, the fact that it's used by precinct detectives and that the victim was a detective are probably linked to one another. I would assume. The revolver, the standard model used by detectives. Could it have belonged to our recently departed? Detective Gumshoe, could you please thoroughly check the victim's body one more time? Yes, sir. On it now, sir. Excuse me, pal. Let's see. What have we got here? Miss Edgeworth, sir. This guy's wearing a gun holster. So it appears that our killer somehow managed to take the victim's gun from him. Victim's revolver data jotted down in my organizer. Are you going to be okay with keeping track of the evidence we find, sir? Of course. This is the safest way I know to keep track of it all. Alright, if you say so. I keep all the evidence I find either in or with my organizer. When I want to re-examine a piece, I have but to touch the organizer button. But the organizer isn't only for evidence, I keep people's profiles on hand in it too. It's probably a good idea to make a habit of checking the facts often. Let's see what else we can find out about this revolver. As I always say, you've got to look really carefully at each piece of evidence. You can use the scroll wheels to rotate an object. There's not such a thing as a bad angle. Use the slide bar or the X and Y arrows to zoom in and out to get at the nitty-gritty. Can I look inside the cannon? It seems to still be loaded. Examine what? To think that it's so easy to take a life with just the pull of a trigger. You know, I can't ever see myself really liking guns. Oh, but I love the ones they use at track and field meets to start races. If you take off before it's fired, everybody always ends up following your lead. To chase you down for a false start, detective. Now that you mention it, even when I finish first, I always wind up in last place. There's still bullets in it. Ah, only one bullet was fired. It can only hold 5 rounds? That's a weird number. Wow, so the killer killed the Vic with just one shot after wresting the gun from him. Well, there's a contradiction already because one bullet was fired in the wall opposite the victim and one was shot at the victim. So, that's a contradiction already. Sounds like the guy knew how to handle a gun, huh, Mr. Edgeworth? We have no proof for now, but that is a distinct possibility. Well, that gun was only fired once. Your files are all over the floor, sir. They probably fell during the struggle between the victim and his killer. My files are a mess, pointing to a struggle between the victim and the killer. Well, was he killed by gunshot? Well, Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, we saw that in the cutscene at the beginning. So yeah. Oh, and I tried so hard to keep this place spotless while you were away. I mean, this just rendered all the time and effort I put in pointless. I don't recall ever asking you to clean my room. Well, I watered the flowers every day, just like you requested, sir. I just added cleaning to the list as a weekend special. For about half a day every Saturday, I'd come in and clean this place until it sparkled. Does he have a life? I don't believe it. I packed those files on these shelves so tight that not even an earthquake could make them fall off, but just look at them. At this rate, the rest of the files won't be able to withstand an earthquake at all. A problem, to be sure. Well, once the investigation is over, we'll put them back up on the shelf. Let's give the body a once-over. There's blood all over his lower abdominal area. It looks like the bullet passed clean through his stomach area, sir. In other words, he was shot. Yup, and until the autopsy is done, I don't think we'll know much more than that. Please have the body sent to the morgue once they're done processing the crime scene. Crime scene notes jotted down in my organizer. I guess this is about all we're going to find out. We should send the body to Jim! Why? Oh, why? How could this have happened to a guy like you? Doesn't he look like the guy that we saw kill him in the opening cutscene? Are you alright? No, that's Edgeworth talking. Don't touch me! Leave me alone! Just let me be! Sorry, but I can't do that. The investigation is still ongoing, so please refrain from touching the body. The body? The body? Don't talk about him like he's just some lump of flesh. Look at him. Jim looks like he's just turned in for the night. Sure. Just in a bloodstained suit, pal. How insensitive. Or are my manners? Aren't you that prosecutor? Why, yes I am. I'm Jacques Portsmouth, prosecutor. Jim here was my partner in crime busting. I am Miles Edgeworth, and like you, I'm also a prosecutor. Detective Dick Gumshoe, sir. So you're Miles Edgeworth. I guess this is your office. Yes, that is correct. Then it was you! You're the one who killed Jim! Hey, don't go around jumping to conclusions, pal. Just calm down, okay? I will not! I know how things work around here. High prosecutor's office doors all have locks built into them. And only the owner of the office has the key to his or her own office door. That is correct. However, I was not the one who killed your partner. Yeah, Mr. Edgeworth has been overseas on a business trip this whole time, pal. And the key to the door was with me the entire time, okay? So the only one who could get in here was me. Oh. Wait. That means... I'm not sure what that means. So it was you then! You're Jim's killer! No way, pal. You've got it all wrong. Everyone calm down. Mr. Portsmouth, correct? If you are a real prosecutor, you should know to stay collected. The investigation has only just begun. Isn't it too early to be drawing conclusions? Alright, I get the point. You're right, my mistake. I tend to get a little too hot-headed sometimes. You sure are one cool customer though, Mr. Edgeworth. I've heard all the rumors about you. You're the great genius prosecutor. You're something of a legend, you know? Anyway, let's call a truce and work together, okay? Now, how about a handshake to seal the deal? A pleasure to work with you. You guys were conducting your investigation, right? Sorry for barging in like that. Carry on then. It's your room after all. Thank you, I intend to. I just want a little more time to say goodbye to Jim. You there! Sir! I want you to capture this scene on film for me. My final farewell to my partner Jim. I should probably give them some space. That table is upturned. Ouch, they even knocked over your chess set. I had it all set up ready for when you got back. I figured we could play a few games. I had no idea you were interested in chess. I'm actually pretty good at checkers, so I thought I'd give chess a try. In that case, I suppose I can set some time aside after we solve this case. Though I don't expect the games to tax my mental acuity much. Oh, you can also use the touchscreen to move the characters around. There you go. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. He has framed one of his jackets. I had forgotten about that detail. Does he have a safe behind the frame? It looks like it. Ah, your jacket, sir. What's it doing on the floor? It must have fallen off the wall when the killer tried to threaten me by firing around. So the killer not only shot the victim, but they shot your jacket as well? They dared to shoot the ultra-special jacket that you made your prosecutorial debut in. What if they had shot through it? It would have been a disaster. It's not worth getting worked up over, detective. Not when there's something more here. Huh? Like what? I take it you haven't noticed it yet, detective. There is a giant contradiction right here in front of us. Fantastic choice of game, Rudy. Salut, everyone. Salut yourself, Quillix. Never played that one, so it's a first for me. Really? Did I say contradiction? He must be rubbing off on me. I'm starting to sound like him. But I have my own methods, and I will conduct this investigation my way. When the scene before me contradicts a piece of evidence or seems off, that's when my deductive skills come into play. First, I have to find the spot that holds the contradiction. This is it. This bullet hole here is where the contradiction lies. When I spot something that's off, I should touch the deduce buttons with conviction. And when I have found sufficient proof to prove the contradiction, I present it. This is how I do things. The contradiction is that one bullet was fired with the victim's revolver. So there's one in the victim and there's one in the wall, but only one shot was fired with the gun. So Eureka! This bullet hole is the contradiction. What do you mean, sir? It's elementary. 2 shots were fired in this room. The first felled the victim, and the second felled this frame. Hey, that's right! However, this gun was only fired once. Hey, that's true too! Which means that one of these 2 bullets was fired from a different gun. Did the killer have another gun prepared for tonight? Other than the victim's gun that I found, could there be another gun in play here? Well, just ask ballistics to have a look at the bullets and determine if the victim that killed the victim came from that gun or not. Shouldn't be too hard. By the way, I noticed something, sir. Yes? What's that thing sticking out from behind the frame? A safe, I suppose? Ah, that. It's a secret safe. A secret safe? Ooh, I smell money. I'll spare us the trouble and just say it. Nothing like what you're imagining is inside. Now, if you could kindly move this frame out of the way. Roger that. Achoo! Achoo! Talk about dusty. I suppose that's what happens when I'm not here to dust it once in a while. Wasn't he supposed to keep the place clean? Ah, that's, yeah, or there we go. I had no idea there was a safe here, or I'd have kept it clean for you, sir. So when did you put this thing in? It wasn't something I had installed personally. Every prosecutor's office has one. Really? I had no idea. Well, I guess they must have. Like, if they want to keep important evidence for a trial or something, I suppose that's where they keep them. Because there's a lot at stake in case a piece of evidence goes missing or something. I thought it was real sneezing. Okay, well, I guess I make a good impression then. Well, only prosecutors are supposed to have knowledge of their existence. So, what's inside, Mr. Edgeworth? Right now, nothing. We only use them to store especially important evidence when a trial is in session. Well, there you go. That's it? Talk about squashing my hopes and dreams. Secret safe data jotted down in my organizer. Evidence discovered in my office. Secret safe. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious looking nook and cranny. Now, this is odd. You found something, sir? This keypad. Don't you find it to be a bit too clean? Yeah, if there was dust everywhere and this spot looks clean, someone must have been wiping it off to wipe off fingerprints, probably? Yeah, there's a thick layer of dust all around it, but not on the keypad itself. You there, the forensic scientist. Yes, sir. Could you please dust this area for fingerprints? If it was wiped, you probably won't find any. You got it, sir. I couldn't find, let alone lift, a single print. Looks like it was wiped down well. And if he's been using it, I suppose that Miles Edgeworth himself must not be wiping it off after each use, so that means that it was wiped down. But if there was nothing inside, what were they looking for then? Secret save data updated in my organizer. As I thought, it appears that logic is the only way around this setback. Time to rationally and calmly connect the dots with the information we have. The killer's goal. Why did this happen in my office? What was the killer after? He was after something in the safe, maybe, but he said that there wasn't supposed to be anything in it. I believe I have figured out what the murderer was after. Well, what is it, sir? The fact that the safe was wiped clean of fingerprints suggests that the criminal had at least attempted to open my safe, making the culprit's motive for breaking and entering theft, I believe. The culprit tried to open my safe. Was the killer's motive theft? Well, they must have believed that there would be something in it then. But if there really was nothing in it, then they were misinformed. I wonder if knowing that the motive behind this break-in was theft changes what the other pieces of information can tell me about this crime. Maybe they were struggling to get the gun out of the hands of the cop or something like that. I'll try, but I don't know if this is gonna lead to anything. No. Not exactly a shining example of the perfect line of logic. Okay, well, I lost some points there. Prosecutors must earn a lot, though. Yeah, but he said so himself, that he never puts any money in it. Or maybe the person didn't know that and hoped to find money there. I mean, it is possible. My files are a mess pointing to a struggle between the victim and the killer. Maybe the victim found the culprit while he was trying to steal something. There is a possibility that the files splayed on the floor are not the result of a struggle between the victim and his killer. Well, I also thought a bit about that, but they seemed pretty like explicit about the files being a result of the struggle, so I thought that made like no doubt or something, but I guess it does. Are not the result of a struggle between the victim and this killer. Oh, you mean like it could be from when the killer tried to find something, sir? Precisely. We need to figure out if any of the files have been stolen. I'm gonna shelve files like you've never seen before, even at the library. Yeah, I guess putting them back where they belong, they should realize if one is missing. Sure, let's give that a try. Why, do I have to do it myself? Why do all the good ones always die young? Surely you must ponder that every once in a while, Mr. Edgeworth. No matter how much we lament, the dead will not come back to life. All we can do is search for the truth. And so what are we supposed to do? How do we go about finding the truth? First, we calmly restore the files to their rightful place. You got it. Here, let me help. So this file goes here, and that book goes there. You sure know a lot about where things go, despite it being Mr. Edgeworth's office. Because I'm the one who keeps it tidy, pal. Okay, done. It would appear that the murder was definitely committed here. Well, something looks weird. Why would there be blood like that at the bottom of the bookcase? But there is none on the bottom of the bookcase itself. It almost looks like the bookcase was moved and then put back in place or something on top of the pool of blood, but I don't know. Just a hunch. It would appear that the murder was definitely committed here. We can see the bullet hole. The bloodstains on the bookshelf are still fresh. I suspect that the victim was killed in a standing position, hence the prints on the shelf. But why is the bullet hole so low then? If he was killed in a standing position. Or he was for the impact hole to be so low, maybe he wasn't up against the bookshelf when it happened, he was away from it. So that it would have passed through the victim and then in a downward angle towards the bookshelf. I don't know. That's for ballistics to determine. I suspect that the victim was killed in a standing position, hence the prints on the shelf, and then the guy fell onto the floor, right? The blood on the floor is kind of grossing me out. Detective, I don't have the time to deal with your weak stomach right now. Yeah, but you know I'm no good with blood, sir. I'm certain there's something wrong with this picture. So this is where the bullet lodged itself after it went through the victim, huh? For the bullet to be lodged so squarely in a file spine indicates that the files were ransacked after the shooting had occurred. Then I guess the victim was moved because he was in the killer's way. Yeah. The victim's handprints. He must have tried to support himself with his hands here after being shot. There are prints on the floor too. Those must have been made when unable to stay standing and dropped to the floor. The pool looks weird. It appears that the victim was in a sitting position here after being shot. So that's why the seat of the victim's pants has blood on it. Oh yeah, he's right actually. That would be the logical conclusion. The killer moved the body because it was leaning against the bookshelf. The blood on this guy's pants proves that pretty well. In a sense, I suppose. See, I'm not completely useless, Mr. Edgeworth. There's also... Oh yeah, but that's the same thing. Okay. There's blotches on the files themselves. Put them all back just as they should be, sir. Doesn't look like anything's missing. Although it does look like the killer moved the body to fit through my shelves. I wonder if they found what they were looking for. Is this spot somehow connected to any of the evidence I hold? Secret safe. Well, there is an important piece of information when you look at the safe. It says that only prosecutors know of the existence of those safes, so the person who wanted to look through it knew of its existence. That means it was a prosecutor, but since we've already seen the scene at the beginning of the game, we already know that it's that guy that pretends that the guy was his friend who committed the murder. But, wow. What if it went through its abdomen? Is that it, maybe? No, that's with the bullet hole. That's with the bullet hole that I have to show that. You don't understand. You see, therein lies the contradiction. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, it'd be nice if you just admit when you're wrong. That was a mistake. That was me keeping you on your toes, detective. Can I... Oh, if you want to save your game, you have to suspend play. Ah, they brought back that thing from Apollo Justice. I'm not a big fan of that. No, not reset. Especially since I haven't saved anything. I'm gonna save here. Deduce from the bullet hole. There is clearly a contradiction here with this bullet hole. What do you mean, sir? You don't see? Quite simply, the bullet hole itself is too low. Well, I did say that before, yeah. That's why I wanted to point that out, to see if this is where the game wanted to steer me. If the victim was shot in the stomach, the hole should be much higher up. But what if the guy was shot while he was sitting or lying down, sir? That would be illogical. The victim leaned against this shelf after being shot, which suggests that he was standing when he was shot. Then that means... Wait, what does that mean, sir? It means you need to use your brain every once in a while instead of mine, detective. In any case, it means someone made a faulty assumption, and it was from this mistake that our current contradiction was born. What is the faulty assumption that caused this problem with the bullet hole's position? The position of the body, the position of the handprints, the order of the files. I'd say the position of the handprints, those that are higher up on the shelf. Are they even the victims? The position of the handprints is what's causing this problem. We wouldn't be in this dilemma if the handprints were closer to the ground, but the handprints are where they are, up top. Yes, you are quite perceptive, which is why this is not a viable hypothesis. Or, so it was just a what if, then what's the right answer? You still can't figure it out? Then allow me to explain. Yes, please, sir. Guess I didn't notice the slip-up, although at this point I shouldn't be surprised. What is the faulty... Ah, that wasn't it? Position of the body? The order of the files, maybe? I believe the order of the files is a bit off. You mean I put them back in the wrong order just now? Hey, actually, I think the labels on the files are wrong, sir. OA, OB, OC, OD, OE. Yeah, you see here now how the files that were shot begin with the number 0. What are those doing all the way down after 1, 2, and 3? That's really weird. Actually, the way they are organized now is the correct order. They are exactly as I see them in my mind's eye. But the numbers are all out of order. Those white binders are special, so they are arranged a little differently. But from this, we know that the files were not in this order when the crime occurred. Aha, so that's it. I believe the killer made the same incorrect assumption as you just did, detective. Let's rearrange the files in numerical order and see what we find out. Do you think it'd be okay to prop the body back up to how it was before it was moved? They finished processing the crime scene, so I don't see why it wouldn't be. If you please, Detective Gumshoe. As I suspected, the bullet hole is now where it should logically be. The killer went through my files first before shooting Mr. Faith, and then put the files back in numerical order, I guess. Exactly, and then proceeded to shoot the victim. But why would someone kill a man and then look through your files one more time? Puzzling indeed. The files were thrown into disarray twice, once before and once after the crime, but why? Maybe two people were after something? Now the crime scene is as it was at the time of the murder. Time to give it another look. As I suspected, the bullet hole is now where it should logically be, and we figured out that the killer went through your bookshelf twice. Indeed, there are many things the killer did that don't make sense. But to figure out the whys, we need more information. There's blood projections on the files. As I suspected. Ah, no, okay, well. It describes the same thing. Hey, look at this! This? What is that? And there's a file missing. Why does it say gumshoe on there in blood? I'd say it's some incredibly incriminating evidence. Yes, indicative of a criminal activity, indeed. No, wait, there's gotta be some mistake. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, say something, sir. It appears that one of my files was stolen. Is that all, sir? What about me and my situation? Is this what the killer was really after? Stolen file data jotted down in my organizer. Investigation complete. Looks like Jim was able to leave us the name of his killer in the end. And this most important message managed to reach us. I'm telling you, it wasn't me! You can't be terribly pleased to hear that your beloved partner is the guilty party. If you are going to accuse Detective Gumshoe of being the culprit, I sincerely hope you have some proof to back it up. Jim's words, they're more than enough, wouldn't you say? If that's how you want to play it, then at least allow me to understand your reasoning. You got it. I don't like this one bit. There's something strange about this man's attitude. And there must be some sort of flaw to his logic waiting for me to dig out. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you going to do? What I always do in court, I'm going to cross-examine him. One way or another, I'll expose the flaw in his logic with this technique. Oh, how do you do that? Can you explain to me, sir? Well, I need the explanation because it might work different in this game. Alright, first I listen to the witness's testimony. If I find a flaw in the testimony, something that contradicts the evidence, I open the organizer and present the piece of contradictory evidence. To present something, I simply touch the present button, but that's old news. But it's not like there's gonna be a flaw in their testimony every time, right? Correct, and at those times, I need to press the witness by touching the press button. Sometimes by pressing, I can draw out new information and new or modified testimony. I think I get it, sir. I'll be sure to try this technique out during investigations too. Very well, I'll even show you how it's done. Now, watch carefully. Mr. Portsman's logic. Detective Gumshoe, you stole Jim's gun from him and shot him dead. Further, you messed up the files to make it look like you had committed theft instead. I'm not fully familiar with them yet because I only just got started. It's interesting, at least. I mean, I already knew that it was going to be quite different from the regular Ace Attorney games because my bro already told me that you don't go to court, or at least you don't go to court to play the role of the prosecutor against a defense attorney in court like it happens in the regular games in the series. So I already knew that it was going to be a bit different in that sense. So far, I like it. Further, you messed up the files to make it look like you had committed theft instead. That's when you moved Jim's body that was sitting in front of the bookshelf. But thanks to that, you didn't notice the bloody letters in his body was hiding. And it will be his final words that you will be brought to justice. You intend to argue that the victim's dying message points to his killer? I can hear Jim's voice and he's calling for his killer's arrest. It is good to start slowly with Ace Attorney Investigations 1 so you can really play it in Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Why? Because it's harder? Are you sure you're not mishearing his words, Mr. Portsman? There is no way Detective Gumshoe is the culprit here. I will find the flaw in this man's logic and expose it with credible evidence. Mr. Portsman's logic. Detective Gumshoe, you stole Jim's gun from him and shot him dead.
Hold it!
You know, there's something I've been meaning to ask. What is it? Why do you call the victim Jim? Isn't it? Yeah, something Faith. I've already forgotten the name of the victim. Buddy Faith, yeah, okay. When clearly his name is Buddy Faith. Isn't it obvious? Jim is the perfect name for my companion. Jacques and Jim. Don't those two names go together like peanut, butter, and jam? But Jim isn't even close to the guy's real name. Well, Jacques and Buddy just sounds off somehow. Besides, he was the third of a bunch of guys I decided to nickname Jim. He talks about the victim like he was his pet. Further, you messed up the files to make it look like you had committed theft instead. Well, if anyone would know the order of the files, it would be him, but I don't really have anything to throw in his face against that, right? Do you really think it was necessary to dishevel my shelves twice to do that? That's true. Okay, then maybe his real intent was theft. Hey, are you accusing me of stealing something from Mr. Edgeworth? It's a possibility. Maybe your salary has been cut so much that life is getting a little too rough to handle. I'll have you know that I eat 3 square meals every day, pal. Okay, so all 3 of them happen to be instant noodles, but... Poor thing, what an evil prosecutor you were paired up with. And what a motive, no? That's when you moved Jim's body that was sitting in front of the bookshelf. How does he know that it was sitting in front of the bookshelf before it was moved? Well, I guess the evidence points to it, but...
Hold it.
So it could have come to the same conclusion, but, well... And why would Detective Gumshoe do such a thing? Because the body was getting in his way. He had to mess up your bookshelf somehow, right? Anyway. But thanks to that, you didn't notice the bloody letters his body was hiding. Well, if he did steal the file that was missing, he would have noticed the bloody letters. Do I have something? Yeah. I guess that's it. I mean, there's a missing file, so he would have noticed.
Objection.
It's impossible otherwise. Perhaps you're not aware, Mr. Portsman, but there is a serious flaw in your logic. Hey, bringing a bit of the courtroom into this, I see. No problem, I'm game. I can't help but find it odd. Excuse me? Odd that a fellow prosecutor would be brought down by the power of his own office. But what are you talking about? Oh, you're joking, I get it. If you have the time to laugh, then you have the time to take another closer look at this. Do you still not see? If not, may I direct your attention to the missing file? What? That's impossible! What's impossible, Mr. Portsman? Nothing. The files on that shelf are all about a certain case. When the killer went to take the file after murdering your partner, I highly doubt they could have missed the bloody letters written on the spines.
Objection.
It's possible that they could have taken the file before committing the murder. I think it's pretty obvious that the file was stolen after it was written on. The missing letters in the detective's name where the file should be is proof. Yeah, I mean, the S is gone and there is only half an H. If Detective Gumshoe really was the culprit of this case, I highly doubt that even he could overlook his own name written in blood on the files. Especially as a detective who can't stand the sight of blood. Gasp! Which means... What exactly? What does that make this dying message? It makes it the work of a criminal intent on tampering with the crime scene. That's so low! I can't believe the criminal tried to pin this whole thing on me, sir! I'm gonna get him, sir! You'll see! I'm gonna have them under arrest in no time! Well, Mr. Portsman? Brilliant, absolutely splendid. Logic deserving of Olympic gold. I appreciate the praise, but it doesn't change the fact that your reasoning is flawed. Meh, you win some and you lose some. That's how life goes. Glad everyone's so cheery, even though I feel more dead than alive. But you know it really is a shame. I really didn't want to have to bring this up, however. What is it this time? Are you still after me, pal? Humor me for a second. Who has the key to this office? That would be me. But Mr. Edgeworth just proved that I'm innocent, pal. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, he put on his jacket. Uh-oh, that's scary. That's absolutely right, and I acknowledge your innocence. Then why do I sense that you still have something to say? What's with the jacket? Stop that. Well, I was thinking, did you know there is one other person with a key to this office? One other person? Hey, you there! Yes, sir. What is it, sir? Would you kindly fetch and escort that lovely young lady here for me? Lovely young lady? A lady? The girl is a member of this building's security. Think of her as a material witness. Security? Did you say security? No, stop it, pal. Don't! Is it Wendy, old bag? What's wrong with him all of a sudden? Ah, no, it's not. Oh, is it? Is it who I think it is? I believe she needs no introduction. I have called upon Miss Maggie Bird, a member of security. She's not a cop anymore, yeah. Detective Gumshoe, sir. Maggie. Uh-oh. Miss Bird is the security guard on watch tonight. I see. And your point is? My point is that she could very well have used it. And by it, I mean the master key which can open all the office doors in this building. What? She's gonna be the suspected person? If you are not the guilty party, Detective Gumshoe, then the only other person with the access to this room is Miss Bird. How dare you! I would never sneak into someone's room. That's right. I refuse to believe that Maggie is the culprit, pal. It was me. That's right. I did it. Can we take that as a confession, Detective? Well, it wasn't really me, but it definitely wasn't Maggie, pal. So yeah, it was me. If it was, you'd have no problems with that, right? Please, refrain from flying off the handle, Detective. There's no need for such theatrics. Maggie Cross Gumshoe, yeah. Here we go again. Listen to your boss, Detective. He understands what I'm saying here. That girl is the only one who could have committed the crime, and for one simple reason. Reason for suspicion. It's pretty obvious that Miss Bird snuck into your room using the master key. I mean, if Detective Gumshoe isn't the one who opened the door, then that leaves only Miss Bird as our prime suspect. On top of which, she knows our good detective, doesn't she? Making it all that more probable that she was the one who faked the dying message. So you're saying she used the master key. Master key data jotted down in my organizer. Incredibly incriminating evidence, wouldn't you say? That's what she claimed about the evidence earlier as well. That was then, this is now. The flow of a good match always changes during a rally. It's all about your reflexes and reaction time, especially for an athlete like me. I wonder if there was anyone else other than Miss Bird who could have used the master key. It seems that the only way to get Mr. Portsman to give me more details is to press him. Yeah, because here I don't have anything that springs to mind immediately. It's pretty obvious that Miss Bird snuck into your room using the master key.
Hold it!
Are you sure Miss Bird is the only member of security who could have used the master key? There was only one person on staff at this time of night, and tonight, she's it. Isn't that right, Miss Bird? That's, true, but I wasn't able to use the master key at the time of the crime, sir. Wasn't able to? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, moving on. I'd hate to get sidetracked by something unrelated. What do you mean unrelated? I want to hear what she has to say, pal. But you can't really trust her not to tell lies, plus I hate wasting time. Should I hear Miss Bird out? Why wasn't she able to use it? Not so fast. I, too, am interested in hearing what Miss Bird has to say. I'm super thirsty at the moment. I don't know why. Didn't I just say it'd be a waste of time? We don't need to hear her lies. I'll be the judge of that. Miss Bird, if you please. I discovered that the master key was missing at around 1 AM, sir. What do you mean by missing? As in, it wasn't anywhere in the security booth, sir. The killer must have stolen it. Mr. Portsman, I believe this to be an important piece of testimony, don't you? I can't believe that someone like you would be taken in by such words. I'm not lying, sir!
Objection!
If that's the case, then I'd like to know why you have the master key now. I don't quite know, it just reappeared all of a sudden, sir. Ha, a likely story. And where is your proof that the key was stolen to begin with? I bet you just forgot where you put it and then found it again. I never lose things, I can practically guarantee that. With me, if something disappears, it's usually because someone stole it. Yeah, pal, trust me, you don't want to test just how bad her luck is. Unfortunately, I can't deem this piece of testimony as conclusive. Glad you agree, Mr. Edgeworth. But... You still haven't established Maggie's motive for breaking into Mr. Edgeworth's office. Her motive? Didn't we already establish that it was theft? I mean, the culprit clearly went through the bookshelves and at least tried the safe. It is as Mr. Portsman says, Detective. I can't ignore the fact that all the evidence points towards a motive of theft. But I'm done taking blows. It's time to counterattack with a few facts of my own. She couldn't have known about the safe, because only prosecutors do. I think I should present the safe door in this case. Because I'm gonna save before I do that though. But I think I'm on the right track with this.
Objection!
She couldn't have known about its existence. She's not a prosecutor. Do you wish to continue insisting that Miss Bird was set on stealing something? Why not? It's the truth after all. It was also by your logic that we came to the whole theory conclusion anyway. That may be, but you must also be aware of the fact that the safe is a secret safe, the existence of which is only privy to the prosecutors. Ah! I find it a little hard to believe that a hidden safe was a part of our cunning plan. But she could have found it by accident while she was turning everything else upside down. I highly doubt that. I'd say the culprit knew exactly what they were looking for. After all, only the bookshelf and the safe were targeted. Yeah, even I didn't know about that safe, pal. And that means there's no way Maggie could have known about it either. Then are you proposing that the killer is a prosecutor? Interesting conclusion. That's definitely looking more and more probable. What's wrong, prosecutor? Do you have a different suspect in mind now? Curses, why? What made you... What's with the angry face all of a sudden? It's all my fault. What do you mean? It's Jim. He knew about the existence of the secret safes. What did you just say? We were partners, like inseparable conjoined twins. That's why I told him. I filled him in on the secret safes. Then that means... Yeah, I know, I only just told him too. Obviously, it was wrong of me to tell him. I still can't quite believe it. But the thief who broke into your room was probably Jim. Now he's claiming that the victim was a thief? And you were simply trying to stop him, weren't you? Miss Maggie Bird. Excuse me? I mean, you are a security guard, right? That's your job. But killing is going a bit too far, even in your risky profession. What the? You're still accusing Maggie of the murder? Yes and no. I mean, she had stumbled upon Jim, who had probably drawn his gun. I get it. It was self-defense, wasn't it? No, I couldn't. I could never do something like that. Not even as a security guard, sir. Plus, even if he was a thief, he wouldn't have the key to this office. Which is precisely why he had to steal it, wouldn't you say? It was Jim who stole the master key. Ah! Pretty impossible for a supposedly stolen key to be here with us unless... Well, unless you retrieved it from Jim after you killed him. Mr. Portsman, are you honestly accusing your own partner of being a thief? This Portsman has no class. Yeah. Blaming everyone. He's not really good at, like, keeping his cool to avoid attracting suspicion. I don't want to admit it, but it's the only way for everything else to make sense. Has he no honor? Well, I think someone here agrees with you. Now then, I think we're done here. The investigation waits for no man. Would you people be so kind as to see yourselves out? Stop with the jacket, damn it. You can't kick us out. This is Mr. Edgeworth's office. But I'm the one who's been assigned to this case. You are all suspects to varying degrees and therefore ineligible to run this show. Listen, pal, how many times do I have to say this? Maggie can't be the culprit. Detective Gumshoe, calm yourself. But, sir... We have no choice but to accommodate his request for now. Aha! Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. At least one of you understands. Now then, if you could remove yourselves from my crime scene, I'd be most grateful. Mark my words, Mr. Boardsman, we will meet again. If that's a formal request from the legendary prosecutor himself, then I suppose so. Now, don't disappoint me, you hear? To be continued. That was the first part of this. What is with that prosecutor? I can't believe how rude he was. It was unbelievable. Please maintain your professionalism, detective. I'm gonna find some real solid evidence proving Maggie's innocence. You'll see, sir. But we've been kicked out of the crime scene, sir. True. So then, what now? Looks like my life's fallen into yet another gigantic ditch. Do not despair, Miss Bird. We can overcome this as well. There are many other places and things we should be looking into anyway. Eh? Really, sir? For example, this hallway. The linchpin of this argument against Miss Bird is related to the master key. In that case, this hallway is the perfect place to look for more information regarding the mystery surrounding my door. Let's examine the door, I suppose. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. I don't see any signs of forced entry, and according to the guard, no signs that the lock was picked either, sir. Meaning that the door really was opened with a key. Do you happen to ask if any prints were lifted from the doorknob? Apparently the doorknob's clean as a whistle. Wiped, they think. Whoever this thief is, they did a good job of not leaving any clues behind. 1202, these 4 numbers on the number plates alone proclaim this to be my office. Oops, hey, these number plates slide right out, sir. You have to be able to take the plate off when a room becomes vacant, you know? Although, the idea that it can be so easy to remove is kind of... is that pertinent? A minimalist yet classy door made of top quality wood. It's sturdily made, making it near impossible to break in by force. It's almost majestic, sir. I wish I could be as stately as this door. Only Gumshoe would praise a door as something greater than himself. Being a detective has its own rewards and a certain virtuous value, I think. If you live up to your full potential, that's a poignant trait that anyone can admire. I see, so you're saying, sir, that me being me is the best thing I can do for everyone? Right. That long pause wasn't exactly reassuring, sir. Yeah, it didn't feel reassuring indeed. Isn't there something under the bench? Yeah, I was gonna say. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. It's... isn't this that missing O-series file, sir? No doubt about it. The bloody letters mark it clear as day. There seem to be a few pages missing. Our thief took only what was necessary and left the rest behind. So, what are these 0 files about, sir? I guess they've got something worth stealing in them, huh? Not particularly, it's just a collection of court case files. However, the cases within these files are not mine. Huh? They belong to the high prosecutor that used to occupy my current office. I have my reasons, but let's just say I was charged with keeping them as they were. Then that means the thief must have also wanted a file for a specific reason, right? It would seem so. Only the pages related to that case from 10 years ago are missing. I wonder why anyone would care about such an old case. Okay, so I found it. was thinking maybe I should... It's the master key to every office in the building. Mm-hmm. Because I was gonna say... Okay, there's probably nothing important about it. I can't check that one in 3D, okay. Because I was gonna say maybe if I flip through it. Oh, can't go any further? Okay. What's that? Okay. What is a basketball doing here? That's Mr. Portsman's prized possession, sir. I heard he also plays soccer, dodgeball, and even tennis. And not a single one of those sports is suitable to be played in a hallway. Whose door is that? This office. 1203, 1203. Hey Maggie, whose room is this again? It's Mr. Portsman, sir. So he's my new neighbor, I see. I suppose he moved in while I was away overseas. Oh, I know that prosecutor there to the right. What is a basketball hoop doing here? Hey, didn't this used to be just outside next to the building a long time ago? So when and why was it moved indoors? I don't remember exactly, but I saw one of the officers drag it up here recently. Drag it? I heard that it wouldn't fit in the elevator, so the poor guy had to bring it himself. All the way up to the 12th floor? Hi, whatever your name was. It looks like you're quite in the pinch. You're in quite the pinch, Mr. Edgeworth. To be sure, a murder within the walls of the prosecutor's office is no trifling matter. We must find, apprehend, and punish the killer accordingly post-haste. Sounds like a messy case you've got on your hands. If you ever feel lost or need some advice, my door is always open. How gracious. I will keep your offer in mind. Who is this guy again? Yeah, me too, I'd like to know because I forgot his name. What's his name again? The guy that got his hair blown away by a powerful objection or something like that. I can't quite recall. Is everything alright? Yes, sir. If you must know, I weighed myself this morning and I'm finally at 154 pounds. Congratulations, but I was asking about this hallway in this room. Oh, everything's okay, sir. A word of advice. Stay focused or you may start to lose even more weight. Maybe talking to Maggie? I was wondering if I may speak with you for a bit concerning this case. I've always been a big fan of the courtroom, but this is like a dream where I'm being cross-examined by the Miles Edgeworth. I can't let this chance pass me by. I must remember to ask her about the master key. I should jog her memory showing my notes to her through the present button. So when did you discover that the master key was missing? By the time I realized it, I think it was around 1 a.m., sir. And I noticed it was back at around 2:30 a.m. It was just sitting there on the ledge where the security room's reception window is. But I'm sure that between those times it was not just gone, but stolen, sir. Why is such an important key stored in such an insecure place? It's not like that, sir. We always keep the key further inside the room, away from the window. Always, you say, except for this time, correct? Well, I admit that I was a bit careless, but I had my reasons. I left it out because I was sort of using it at the time. It was after I had used it that I left it sitting out on the ledge. So she's been in the room? That's not good. She used the master key? Well, no, not necessarily. She might have used it to get inside a different room. Because it's the master key. It goes to all the rooms. Right. Have you ever met the victim before? Well, I've seen him a couple of times before when I had to go to Mr. Portsman's office. Mr. Faith was always playing basketball with Mr. Portsman, sir. That sounds like fun. Just once, I'd have loved to play with them. It sounds fun, but the only person ever taking a shot was Mr. Portsman. All Mr. Faith ever did was pass him the ball, sir. On second thought, I don't think I'd have fit in all that well with them. What did you mean by you used the master key? Oh, I had to use it to open the door for this prosecutor who had forgotten his key. I mean, it's my job as a security guard, right? Ah! What is it? That's right, I just remembered. The prosecutor who forgot his key. It was Mr. Portsman, sir. Well, they make it look like there's only 2 prosecutors in that hallway, so... What? Please tell me more, Miss Bird, quickly. It was around 12 a.m. Mr. Portsman had forgotten his office key, so he came down to security, sir. And that's when you loaned the master key to him. No way, it's against regulations to loan the master key out to anyone. I walked with Mr. Portsman to his office and opened the door for him personally, sir. I'm gonna put it out there already because I think that this is where it's going. He pretended to have forgotten his key. But before he went to ask for the master key, he swept around the numbers of the doors, and because she's a bit like... I mean, she's a bit always her head up in the clouds. Well, she must not have even realized that she was not opening the right door. Although if she opened the one that was right next to the basketball hoop, that might not have been the one. I mean, I might be wrong about that. Or he could have moved the hoop as well, but we'll see. No, I was not praying. Not at that moment. I see. And then, what happened after that? Well, he called for me to come close up his office as he was leaving to go home. That was around 1:30 a.m., I think. So, in summary, for the sake of one forgetful prosecutor, you used the master key twice tonight. Talk about suspicious. I doubt you can say that you've never left your keys at home, Detective. I think this calls for a thorough examination of Mr. Portsman's door. Miss Maggie Bird, correct? I take it that you are an acquaintance of the detective. She was under my supervision back when she was still on the force, sir. One day she got caught up in a murder and things started to going downhill, so she quit. But I owe a lot to Detective Gumshoe for introducing me to my current employer. Or so I thought until a few hours ago. Right before I was about to clock out for the night, you got caught up in this whirlwind of a case, correct? Don't worry, my whole life has been nothing but a whirlwind of bad luck and failures. Whirlwind, more like. Since I was 6 months old, when I fell from the 9th floor of my apartment building, I've been hit by all sorts of vehicles, gotten sick from all sorts of foods, failed at almost every test I've taken, experienced almost every kind of disaster. Larry and Maggie always change their jobs and get caught up in new cases. Yeah, he was a security guard too, I think, the last time. No, in the last one that I played anyway, he was an artist. Like Donim, what was Laurence Donim or something like that was his name. That's a lot to go through in one lifetime. I know, and just when I thought I had finally found my happiness, I wind up getting you and Detective Gumshoe involved in my bad luck. You don't need to worry about me, Miss Bird, nor do you need to worry about yourself. I will solve this case and prove your innocence. All I ask in return is for your cooperation. Yes, sir, Mr. Edgeworth, you can count on me. I'll do all I can to help. Yeah, when something smells, it's the butts. I don't know what the joke is in Japanese, but I watched the animated series, but I've already forgotten now what it was in Japanese. If it was a different joke or something like that, but because his name is not Butts in Japanese, I just I don't even remember what it was. Let's take a closer look at the door then. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious looking nook and cranny. Well, the number. Is there anything suspicious about it? Because I imagine that maybe those had been swapped. I take it that this is Mr. Portsman's office. Yeah, you can't mistake it because of that best basketball hoop, sir. Oh, that reminds me, Mr. Portsman had actually wanted room 1202 really badly, but since you were already occupying it, Mr. Edgeworth, we put him next door, sir. So why was Mr. Portsman so particular about getting room 1202? I'm not sure, but I bet it's because of something like his birthday is December 2nd. Yep, that's gotta be it. I can't think of another reason why. I can think of at least 3. Bah, why am I even wasting time thinking about this? The door is locked tight. Hey, I bet the old credit card trick wouldn't work here, huh, Mr. Edgeworth? This is the office of a high prosecutor detective. These doors would be pretty ineffective if the average cat burglar could get through them. Aha, so I guess only a great cat burglar could get in. That must be who our culprit is. Might I advise you to return that conclusion to whatever pawn shop you bought it from? That's a weird thing to say. A minimalist yet classy door made of top quality wood. It's kinda majestic too, fits in really well with the ambiance of the prosecutor's offices. Even Mr. Portsman seems dignified just because he works behind one of these. Nonsense! A man doesn't become more or less dignified because of where he works. Well, he still seems more dignified than Mr. Payne. Ah, yeah, that's the prosecutor we saw earlier, yeah. The one going bald. Mr. Payne, I suppose custodial work can also be dignified. Ah, shoot. That keeps changing hair. Yeah. Using a toupee or losing it. Well, first he had hair, then he lost it, then he got a toupee or something like that. Hey, didn't this used to be just outside next to the building a long time ago? So, when and why was it moved indoors? I don't remember exactly. Well, yeah, because I thought maybe the basketball hoop was put next to the other door and the number swapped so that she would have opened the door to the crime scene instead. I heard that it wouldn't fit in the elevator, blah blah blah. Well, can I talk to him? Yes, sir. Nah, I don't need an explanation on the gameplay of the game. That's not what I need right now. Or maybe, can I put things together? This key went missing from approximately 1 AM until 2:30 AM. Wait. There's a contradiction between those two. Miss Bird, I'm afraid there's a flaw in your story. What? No way, pal. I mean, sir. You said that you locked up Mr. Portsman's office at around 1:30 AM, correct? However, the master key had already been stolen at that time. Wow, nothing gets by you, Mr. Edgeworth. You saw that contradiction like a pro. I had totally forgot all about that, but thanks to you, I remember it now. You're right, it was around that very time that I realized the master key was missing. And? Well, I'm a security guard, sir. I couldn't just admit to losing the master key, could I? So I pretended to lock up his room, sir. Oh, you pretended. Yeah, I used my house key and made it look like I was locking up, sir. So in actuality, you never did relock the door then. Well, I thought that maybe I could go lock it after I found the key. Come to think of it, I guess the door still hasn't been locked properly. So that means we get to snoop around. The door is locked tight. Hey, I bet the old credit card... well, if it is locked tight now... Wait, if it is locked tight and she never locked it, that means that whoever locked it had the master key. They had to hold the key in hand. This location contradicts this piece of evidence. I don't see anything wrong at all, sir. Ah, come on. It makes sense. I don't really get it myself either. I see. Okay. In that case, I point out what's wrong once more for the two of you. I sense that if I look a little harder, I'll find the contradiction slumbering here. I should probably also flip through my organizer one more time. If it's locked now, then it was locked by whoever stole the key. Unless I... Hold on. She could not lock it up. Or should I present that one? There's a contradiction here between reality and the evidence. Yeah, I did not... I mean... My logic was right, but I did not present the right thing to express it to the game anyway. If what Miss Bird has said is true, then why is this door locked tight? Huh? You know, you're right. Miss Bird, are you sure you didn't relock this door? I am certain of it, sir. And I don't think Mr. Portsman noticed it himself that I hadn't. Which means, what, sir? It either means that he actually does have the key to his office, or that the door Miss Bird opened wasn't this one at all, but a completely different one. Yeah, we go back to what I was suspecting earlier then. She opened a different door, but how can you prove that? There's an easy way to find out. All we need to do is... we need to examine these. Prints on the master key, prints on the doorknob, prints on the number plate. Well... yeah, I'm curious about the number plate indeed. The prints on the number plate, they will tell us all that we need to know. Everything? Really? Like what, sir? Like, well, for example... ah, okay, well, no, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself there. Well, we know for sure that Detective Gumshoe's dinner will only consist of instant noodles. Wow, that was amazing, sir. How did you know? Was that supposed to be a joke to cheer me up, Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, that's it. Now then, we should get back to doing what we need to do, and that is... we need to examine these. Well, if she was supposed to have used it and he didn't steal it, so then his prints shouldn't be on the master key, should they? But then he could have also wiped them off. Or on the doorknob, maybe? The prints on the doorknob will tell us everything. Hey, you! Yeah, you, pal! Do us a favor and see what you can lift from this, okay? So, what did you find out? There's no need for such belligerent nostril flaring, detective. Sir, I have found only Mr. Portsman's and Mr. Faith's prints on this doorknob. So only two people's prints were found on this, huh? That's pretty decisive. Huh? I'm lost, sir. Thinking logically, a certain other person's prints should be on this knob as well. Now then, whose prints should also be on this doorknob? If she really did open it, then hers. Don't you find it odd that the prints of the person who unlocked this door are absent? You mean, yes, the door that Miss Bird opened could not have been this one, but a different one. Information discovered in the hallway of the prosecutor's building. Mr. Portsman's office data updated in my organizer. What have we here? I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious looking nook and cranny. Ah, this is something that he keeps saying all the time. It's pretty annoying. Oh, you can move the camera angle up and down in this one. This is something that I definitely have to pay attention to. What is this? Looks like a scrap of paper. I'll get it, sir. Let's see. Oh, there's something written on it. I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone, but it looks like you're out. I guess I'll catch up to you later, buddy. Looks like a note from the victim. Yeah, and it's for Mr. Portsman. Discovered in the hallway. Is this basketball property of Mr. Portsman? Yes, sir. Hey, wait, there's something... Yeah, the basketball hoop was moved. You can tell by the marks on the floor. I thought it was suspicious that he may have moved the number plate on the door, but also the basketball hoop, to fool her into opening the door to Edgeworth's office. Yes, sir, he's always ready for a match. Basketball, soccer, dodgeball, tennis. It doesn't matter what sport it is, he's game. Although I think it'd be a little hard to play tennis with this ball. That isn't the point you should be focusing on, Detective. You're right, sir. Now I know what I should be focusing on. Bad, Mr. Portsman. Someone should teach him to clean his toys up after he's done playing. I think we've reached the end of this conversation. What's this? What are you looking at, sir? Oh, hey! How about a game? That's okay, Detective. I just found the position of this hoop to be a little off. Hey, you're right, sir. I guess it shifted when someone made a seriously sweet slam dunk. The positioning of the hoop is definitely unnatural. I'd better take note of this. Okay. Basketball hoop data jotted down in my organizer. Well, I think I saw that coming, so no surprise there so far. Poking around in this hallway has actually paid off quite handsomely. Huh? How so, sir? In a variety of different ways. I think it's time we had a little chat with the real culprit of this case. You know who the killer is? Wow, Mr. Edgeworth! As long as my logic is sound, then yes. The mastermind behind this murder is none other than Mr. Portsman. What? Mr. Portsman? I knew it. That's exactly what my logic senses were telling me too. I suspected it was him from the instant he accused Maggie of being the killer, sir. That is anything but logical. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves. Come what may, it's time to knock on truth's door. Knock, knock, knock it on truth's door. High Prosecutor's Office, room 1202. Mr. Portsman, I finished processing the bloody letter, sir. Alright, let me take a grander at it. Pass it here. I like the sprite design so far. I think it's well done. It's reminding me a little bit of another Nintendo DS game that has like big, tall-looking, highly detailed sprites like that. What's the name again? A Super Robot Wars OG Saga Endless Frontier. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe that studio worked on this as well. I should look that up later. Well, if it isn't Detective Gumshoe. End of the line for you, Portsman. We've got you now. Call off your dog, Mr. Edgeworth. Is this some kind of joke? It's no joke. We know, Mr. Jacques Portsman, that you are the guilty party in this case. You must be pretty upset getting chased out of your own room. I'd be mad too. So I guess you can say, if you promise to stay out of our way, you intend to hide your crime under the guise of a prosecutor doing his job. I can see right through the unsightly paper-thin mask you wear upon your cowl. Haha, who'd have ever thought it would come to this? Actually, come to think of it, your mentor was Manfred von Karma, right? The legendary prosecutor who never lost a single case for 40 long years. But there was always this incessant chatter about forged evidence with that guy. Really teaches me that I've got to stay on the lookout for false accusations, you know? Are you done trying to play mind games with me? Because they won't work. The only thing you should be using that mouth of yours for now is explaining yourself. Although that too will only dig your hole deeper. Either way, your game is up. Well, aren't we full of ourselves, even though you have yet to prove anything? Mr. Portsman's rebuttal. I have no idea what sort of harebrained idea you have in mind, but there's a mountain of evidence that points away from me being the culprit. Besides, how may I ask, do you propose I unlock your door and got in here? Look, I feel bad doing this to you, but I've got work to do, so we're done here. Yeah, it's probably on the third one. When he talks about the key, that's probably where I have to present something. Sorry, but we are not finished yet. Boy, you're so stubborn. I suppose you're basing your accusations on something? I'll show you what I'm basing my accusation on, with evidence. Mr. Portsman's rebuttal. Well, I can't present profiles, by the way, because I was thinking of presenting Maggie's profile, but we'll see. Miss Bird says she unlocked this door, but her prints were not found on the doorknob. Well, I don't have much that I can present, so... I'm not sure which one I have to present. Maybe I should press first to make sure to see if there's maybe something else that he may add to his testimony. Unfortunately, I believe I have already shown how earlier. Your speculations mean nothing, as I still insist that I could not gain access to your room. What should I do now? Should I raise an objection? There was a way. You claim to have had no way to open my door. However, is that really the honest truth? Haha. Alright, I'll humor you. Go ahead, shoot. Very well then. I propose that you use this to open my door. The excuse of wanting to open his? I mean, presenting this is what I have in mind, but is the game programmed to interpret it that way? That's what I'm not so sure of.
Take that!
And how do you propose I use this object to open your door? Okay, well, the master key then. It's okay, I know what someone's just grasping at straws. I wasn't! I have a sound reason in my head, but... it's pointing it out with the right evidence that's, Okay, let's go back. Let's press again.
Hold it!
Yeah, I've already been through all this, so... well, with the master key. But he didn't use it. I believe you were able to open my office door with the master key, no less.
Objection!
Wait. Hold on for a sec. I never laid a finger on that key, as you already know. Precisely, you were able to open my door without lifting a single finger. Well, maybe you did, but only to direct. That's right, you used your finger to direct this person to open my door with the key.
Take that!
You had asked Miss Bird to open your own office door for you, yes? Yeah, I kinda forgot my key at home. Happens a bit too often for my taste, you know? But the room you had Miss Bird open at that time was not your own, was it? What? You have quite the imagination, but why don't we ask the girl herself whose door she opened, shall we? I'm certain that it was Mr. Portsman's door, sir. I checked the number plate to make sure I was opening the right door, sir. See, Miss Bird backs up my story. Yet, what if you had misled her to fool her into thinking what you wanted? Huh, and how do you suppose I did that? By switching the number plates on our doors, for example, and moving the basketball hoop to make it look even more convincing. That's right, they do slide out pretty easily. Furthermore, you then used one other thing to give a very strong impression that the door she was opening was yours and not in fact mine. The basketball hoop. What was it that Mr. Portsman used to make Miss Bird think that it was his room?
Take that!
What? The basketball hoop, sir? It's quite the peculiar fixture in any hallway, let alone in a hallway in this building, which is why it left an unusually strong impression on you. It's an object perfectly suited to sit just outside the office of a peculiar prosecutor. Grah! That's very true, sir, because there was a basketball hoop sitting there. I thought the door I was opening had to be Mr. Portsman's. There are signs that the hoop has been moved. And signs that the door was not opened either, because if he had opened the room, he would have seen the piece of paper that was under the door. And since the piece of paper was signed by the victim and it's still sitting under the door, that means that he never opened this door to begin with. Now you got him. He's breaking. I have him. I see. So that's how you throw suspicion on people. Thanks for the tip. But I think your conjecture is a little off the racetrack. Conjecture's rebuttal. Now you're just spouting nonsense. I had the girl open my office door. After that, I was in my room the entire time. You don't have a single reason to suspect me. Objection, Panda! Hi, Panda. How are you today? So he intends to claim his innocence to the end, does he? I am as pure and innocent as my jacket. And Miss Bird is as dirty and guilty as the jacket she wears. My jacket's not dirty, I'll have you know. I just washed it yesterday. Please, calm down, for I intend to show who is the one truly covered in slime here. Conjecture's rebuttal. Now you're just pouting nonsense? Well, that's just a threat to me. There's nothing there. I had the girl open my office door. Maybe it's here. After that, I was in my room the entire time. Our prints were not found on the doorknob. Hold on. Our prints are not on the doorknob. You're lying. I had your door dusted for prints. My door? Huh, what for? Come on, I bet you didn't find anything. You sure are good at wasting time. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Indeed, I didn't find anything interesting. And that's the problem, you're right. I didn't find anything, and definitely not Miss Bird's fingerprints. Miss Bird's. Her prints? What did they have to do with anything? Let's put it this way. If she really was the one who opened your door, then her prints should naturally be on the doorknob she touched. Arrgh. Further, all of the prints on my office door's knob have been wiped clean off. I can only assume it's because Miss Bird's fingerprints were on it.
Objection!
But it doesn't change the fact that I was in my room the entire time. Is that really a fact, or is it fiction? Hey, would I lie to you? I have here proof that you were not in your room the entire time as you claim. The note left by the victim. This is a note that the victim left for you, Mr. Portsman, and he can only have left it before he died. So, a note? It was left under your door, or did you not notice? And right here it says, but you're out. You were not in your room when the victim came to call on you. So then, where were you and what were you doing? Don't you think it's time you gave up your charade? We know you stole in my office with the intent of stealing something from me. And Detective Faith found you out, possibly because he heard some sounds coming from a room whose occupant was on leave. Mr. Portsman, you killed Mr. Faith to silence him. And I had the misfortune to return when I did. You had to threaten me as you escaped. As I said when you had the gun to my back, no one gets away with committing murder in my office. And just what's so funny, pal? Well, that look of stiff seriousness on the face of this office's finest prosecutor, as he makes a huge mistake in accusing me, is simply too much to bear. There's just nothing else like it in the world. What? Well, I was thinking to myself, there's still one thing that doesn't make sense. The fact that the victim was killed by gunshot, and there was another gunshot, like, shot in the picture frame. So, yeah, 2 shots for only 1 bullet, and that's something that I still can't explain. Not every loose end is tied yet. Miss Edgeworth just explained it all, and he even backed it up. You're the murderer. Stop trying to be slippery and just admit to the crime already. And as I said earlier, it's all so circumstantial, so full of conjecture. You say you checked my doorknob for prints. Well, I can readily confess that I had wiped that knob down well. We found your prints and the victims on it. I'm a little obsessive-compulsive, you see. Let's think like Phoenix, right? I didn't want to touch a doorknob that you had touched. Which is why I wiped the knob down as soon as I could after you opened the door. After that, it makes perfect sense that only Jim's and my own prints would be on there. Well, it depends. Yeah, well, I'm not so sure of anything anymore. You made that up just now, didn't you? Furthermore, as for the note Jim left for me, do you know exactly when that was? For all we know, he could have left it there before I arrived at the office. Like early evening, for example. But then, why would his prints be on the doorknob? Are you saying you failed to notice a note in your doorway? Hey, even geniuses fail at times. I was probably too preoccupied by work-related matters, although that's no excuse. Now that's just a flat-out lie. There's no way you didn't notice a note that size. Ah, but you can't prove that, can you? Say something, Mr. Edgeworth. Back me up here, sir. Portsman makes a good point. I can't prove that he didn't simply overlook it. Besides, I have an airtight alibi. Airtight, you say? I only realized that I had one just now as we were talking. I guess it would have been better for all of us if I had told you sooner. Portsman's alibi. If memory serves, you came back to this office at around 2 a.m., correct? And it was then that you had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit? But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Ask around. I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi. Well, that's the thing. I never thought from the beginning that it was him. I thought it had to be someone else or something. But then who? Do you really think it's that perfect? Like I said, I don't care. Ask around all you like. You'll see for yourself. Detective Gumshoe. Sir, yes, sir. I'll go check out his alibi, sir. Be right back. It's possible that the gun on the floor there is not the one that was used to shoot the frame that had the costume in it. Mr. Edgeworth, sir, I think we're in trouble. It's just like Mr. Portsman said. The guys down in criminal affairs said that they saw him at around 2 a.m. You see? He had already left the crime scene. All of the evidence points to him being the culprit. Yeah, I think he's trying on purpose to, like, lead me to believe that the murderer was the person who was still in the office when I stepped in. But I never thought from the beginning that that was the case. I mean, the silhouette of the guy doesn't look anything like him. All of the evidence points to him being the culprit. So there must be a contradictory point in his alibi somewhere. Portsman's alibi. He came back to this office at around 2 a.m. and it was then that he had that unfortunate confrontation at gunpoint with the culprit. It is as you say. However, you are the only one who claims to have bumped into the culprit. So tell me, did you see the person's face? Was it me or who you saw? It was pitch black, so I couldn't actually see.
Objection!
Oh, come now. I'm sure you saw something. Try a little harder, why don't you? I'm beginning to feel like I'm the one being interrogated here. Oh, well, it doesn't matter if you remember or not. It only matters that you ran into the culprit. But that's the thing, I don't think I did. I just don't know who that was. Just not the culprit. But at exactly that time, I was down in criminal affairs. Well, I can't really prove that it was otherwise. No. Hold on. Well, let's press again, I guess. Because I'm not too sure. I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to say it in the game. So you paid the Criminal Affairs Department a visit. Yup, right after I left the prosecutor's building, I headed straight for the precinct. Ask around, I'm sure the other detectives will corroborate my story. It's the perfect alibi. Well, we did go and ask around to confirm your testimony. And it was just as I said, right? Yes, sir, a number of detectives said that they saw you at around that time. See? I had the perfect alibi. That's the ace I had up my sleeve. Portsman's alibi may seem perfect at first glance, but I know there is a hole in it somewhere. All I need to do is press him a little and see what comes of it. Maybe the first one? How would he know, by the way, what time I came back?
Hold it!
You are correct. It was around 2 a.m. Are you sure? It's really important to me that you're spot on with the time. I remember checking my watch then, and make no mistake, it was 2. Oh, giving testimony like a pro. Okay, so you came back at your office at 2. Ah. Impossible. He actually does have the perfect alibi. Oh, so I had to press on everything, I suppose. What's wrong? Why the sudden sullen look on your face? Can't you say anything back, Mr. Edgeworth? Heh, I think we've reached the end of the line and it's time to get off this crazy train. You there! Sir, please escort the young lady out, but remember, be gentle. Maggie! Detective Gumshoe! Is there nothing I can do? There must be a way to turn this situation around. If I only had a clue. Did I miss something that can help me cast doubt on his alibi? It's time to piece the logic together. I need to calmly think this through one more time and with logic. Well, that's the thing. I do think that it wasn't him with the other handgun. I've said that all along, but I hadn't thought of piecing these two together, I suppose. Yep, they connect. There were 2 bullets left at the scene of the crime. One that robbed Mr. Faith of his life, and one that nearly robbed me of my jacket. However, the murder weapon only shows signs of being fired once, meaning that it is entirely possible that a second gun was used in my office tonight. But seeing as how the killer had to steal Mr. Faith's gun, I doubt the killer had another gun up their sleeve. Therefore, the second gun could have been the property of an entirely different person, which is what I thought all along, which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. I just don't know who it is, though. Don't ask me. I have no idea. And I don't think I'm supposed to know at this point. Another visitor? But do I have to try to connect these two? Supposing there was yet another visitor tonight, that would also resolve the issue of why my shelves were upended. Oh yeah, I had completely forgotten about this. The fact that they had been upended twice, yeah. We know that the shelves were disturbed once before and once after the murder. So it shouldn't be much of a stretch to think that it was the work of 2 different people. Once by the person who stole the victim's gun and then killed him with it. And once again after the murder by our second culprit, who was the owner of the second gun. Is that a bald guy? He looks bald to me. If we suppose that the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back. Action! Mr. Portsman, it seems that I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case. Great, so you finally come to your senses. Mr. Edgeworth! Sir, what are you saying? This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I had assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not be the case. I never said anything like that. What do you mean? The person I ran into was just your average thief. A thief? But, sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts? Not at all. Like, it simply means that the killer was someone else, and it means that in actuality, two culprits stole into my office tonight. What do you mean two? It explains both why my shelves were disturbed twice and how there were two guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Bird and gained entry into my office.
Objection!
Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know? If you could please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Grr. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me, which is why you checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time. So then, this would be when the files were put back in the wrong order, right? Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith? But why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir? He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area, but that's when he noticed sounds coming from my office, would be my guess. Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right? And he must have thought it was odd, so he came into this office to check it out. Correct, and as a detective, that was the right thing to do. But when he came in, he found his own partner standing there. Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance and stole Mr. Faith's gun from him, and then he killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. He's nervous now. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he had also left a fake dying message behind. That explains also why, because it was obviously not the victim who wrote down the name of Gumshoe on the files. That couldn't have been. But then the person who had written that down was not the one who put the files back in place like that afterwards, so... Yeah, there had to be a second person. Yeah, it makes more sense now. It's true. I didn't notice that before, but yeah, now it does. It does make sense. He could afford to do that because he had also left a fake dying message behind. You're such a complicated troublemaker, you know that? Well, if things were as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated. There was another? A visitor, sir? Yes, and this other person's objective was also to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. Yeah, but that thief managed to steal something because some pieces of the file that was found in the hallway are missing. That guy ran away with like some documents. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so they stole the master key from the security guard's room, and then entered my room and searched through my shelves. This was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems the thief found their prize. The stolen O file, sir. Right, sir? Correct. Only just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter. So the shell was getting messed up twice in the two bullets. It was all because two different people were doing those things at two different times? Precisely. Now, do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met was just a thief and was not in fact Mr. Faith's killer. So your alibi is, well, doesn't put you off the hook for the murder. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant, because we now know that the murder took place during the first culprit's visit. Oh no. That doesn't sound good. What's so funny, pal? Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything. Of course it does. It's Mr. Edgeworth after all. But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's all circumstantial. Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory is right, it would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant. Is he breaking, or one last move? That one last move probably isn't gonna work for long. because it's only the first case. I doubt that first case will be lasting much longer than this. But there is still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor. You're Miss Edgeworth, you can't let him get away with that, sir. But he has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point. Don't say that, sir. I don't believe this. Don't worry, Maggie. I'll do something if I must. You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was just a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. Portsman's Alibi, Part 2. That thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I hate to repeat myself, as I've already said, I was training in my room. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at criminal affairs. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left. Wait. What did he say just there? So you think we should be out there looking for the thief? Of course! Now isn't the time to be wasting time on dead-end discussions. I don't think it's at all dead-handed. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? He said he was training in his room? Didn't he say that? But the basketball hoop is in the hallway. I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. Portsman's Alibi, Part 2. That thief you ran into should be your real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room. The basketball hoop is in the hallway. What were you training in? Well, I guess, yeah, he might have been doing push-ups or something because he's a sports guy, so, he doesn't only play basketball, he also plays tennis, he plays bowling and whatever. But according to Mr. Faith's note, hold on, I thought we already cleared that up. Didn't we say that Jim left that note for me in the early evening? If he had proof that he left it at a different time, say just before he was murdered. I don't have any, no. You see, so I insist again that I was in my office the entire time. When Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at criminal affairs.
Hold it!
Why didn't you go there with Mr. Faith? That's because he said he was tired and was going to take a quick nap. You know those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. And what of the evidence he brought? There were things related to yesterday's case, just 2 items, a gun and a pendant. Interesting. This piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks.
Hold it!
A gun and a pendant? Yes, this gun, which was the murder weapon. And this pendant, which belonged to the victim. And why were you taking them to criminal affairs? There was something in a past case file I wanted to compare these two to. But all this has nothing to do with this case right now. Anyway, I believe you'll find the long paper trail I left to be to your satisfaction. This is all matching up with what Detective Gumshoe found out. Well, considering he just added that to his testimony, this is probably where I have to present something. But what? No, the note said 3. Didn't it? I brought the 3 pieces of evidence by, just like we talked about on the phone, but it looks like you're out. I guess I'll catch up to you later, buddy. You said 3 in the note. Where did that third one go? Only 2 pieces? I believe the proper phrase here is, you fail. Excuse me? You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me. What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you. Well, here's a piece I think you should read carefully. Ah, it says that Mr. Faith was bringing 3 pieces. Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman. I can't believe to get tripped up by simple arithmetic. Where is the missing piece of evidence? You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Is it the medal around his neck? Detective Gumshoe, you don't have to say it, sir. I'll pat the guy down from head to toe. No, I guess it's something he's concealing. Don't come any closer, I'm warning you. This is all part of the investigation, pal. So don't even think about stopping me. No! Hey, what's this? He had this on him, sir. A VHS tape. Despite what you said, it would appear that you do have something to hide. But why would he hide something like that? There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail, for the section of the tape that will drive this last nail into this coffin. Oh, blood. Ah, that's blood, isn't it? Yes, and I believe this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh. You mean this might be Detective Faith's blood? No, you've got it all wrong. No amount of denial can save you. We have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us that you had received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video. Yeah, it's totally suspicious. Was it at the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him? You know very well there's no way to prove that. Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints? If I had to take a guess, I'd say that the only ones on here would belong to the you and Mr. Faith. No, impossible! Okay. That was a chocolate medal. Hopefully. It still swallowed the wrapper though. But anyway. March 14th, 5:47 a.m. High Prosecutor's Offices, room 1202. Lol, he broken for real now. Yeah. Mr. Portsman has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir. Very good. And the results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. The blood work came back, and it was definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. And as a bonus, they were also able to lift a few of Mr. Faith's fingerprints as well. Thank you so very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir. It was nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in the murder in my office. Please accept my apologies. Oh, it was nothing really compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that it was only a burglary and a murder this time, sir. If it had been a hold-up or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up from a goddess of misfortune to just an unlucky person. Something tells me we should have hired a different person for security detail. You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor. And why would you say he was corrupt? Well, I heard that there were a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. Well, the same could be said about Edgeworth, to be honest. So, he's one to talk. There's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir. Forged evidence, huh? And they say he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons. Oh, that guy was a complete disgrace to the entire profession. We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office. Yeah, whenever we got near that topic, it just clammed up. Although we can be pretty certain that it was to steal something. This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes. Oh, well, well. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly lends credence to that rumor. Well, I suppose you would have to try to figure out what files are missing. Those that were missing from that box that was found under the bench in the hallway. It would seem that we haven't heard the last of this. Huh? Then Mr. Portsman isn't the bad guy? Well, another thief made out with some important documents, so I didn't say that, but rather that there are still many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance to this piece of evidence. This one?
Take that!
The person who stole this file. The other villain of the night. Yeah, I wonder who it was. Me too. And what happened to the stolen pages? Well, can't you guess which they are? From their absence? I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint? Miss Edgeworth, sir! Yes? I came across this while I was processing your office earlier, sir. This card. What is it, sir? Is that a bird or something on there? It's not just any bird. It's the mark of the raven, a three-legged raven. Huh? Even you should know what this is, detective. Oh, it's about that thing, isn't it? The great thief everyone's talking about. Yes, it is the mark of the great thief Yatagarasu. And the mark of a legendary bird, the Yatagarasu is noble to the end, a modern Robin Hood. Daily Express Special Edition. Yatagarasu haunts embassy. The noble Yatagarasu vigilante of the business world reappears. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the Yatagarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The Yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupt dealings of all sorts. The theft is always performed in silence and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media, along with this single card, although it has been a while since the Yatagarasu's last appearance. Hey, Mr. Edgeworth, look! Something's written on the back. What? Let me see. It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files. So the person who stole the contents of the file was the Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few keywords are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming. For they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago. And that's the end of the first case. I have a bit of time left, so I suppose I should already get started on the next one. Turnabout Airlines. The murder that occurred in my office. The return of the great thief Yatagarasu. Thinking back, everything began on that fateful day 2 days ago. It will be harder from now on. Well, I suppose it will, yeah. That would make sense. I mean, difficulty is supposed to be progressive, so... What happened again? Oh, it's wine. Okay. Thought it was blood. Yes, everything began high up in the air. 9,000 feet in the air, to be precise. Thank you for flying High-Fly Airlines. We are currently experiencing some slight turbulence. We are asking all passengers to please return to their seats and fasten their seatbelts. March 12th, 6:13 a.m. Flight I-390 or 390 if you prefer, first floor lounge. Why do I feel like I just woke up from a horrible nightmare? 6:13, huh? Guess I was out cold for about 10 minutes. Huh, slight turbulence indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are currently experiencing some slight turbulence. For your safety, we ask that you return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Yeah, right. I suppose turbulence is to be expected on a flight, though admittedly I'm less than comfortable with anything resembling earthquakes. Do they really have like tables and seats that can that are mobile like this in a plane? I doubt that somehow. Even on the most luxurious ones. What's this? A travel wallet, but it's not mine. How did someone else's travel wallet wind up in my pocket? My head. Why won't this headache go away? I'll take care of this travel wallet later, or hand it off to an attendant. From earthquake-like turbulence to an elevator. Yeah, that reminds him that one time when he was stuck inside an elevator because of an earthquake. What am I doing hesitating like this? Actually, I know full well why I hesitate. It was when I was still but a young child. I was caught up in a murder that happened in an elevator. But how long am I going to let my past haunt me? It's just an elevator. I'm a grown man now. I need to behave like one. Oops. What the? He looks a little bit like, what was the name of that prosecutor? I can't remember his name. What in the world happened? Is there something wrong, sir? I must ask that you please return to your seat. Eek! He's dead. Please calm down. We mustn't jump to conclusions without all the facts. What's wrong? Did something happen? You murderer! No, you have it all wrong. Yeah, I think, wait. Is that him? Yeah. That's the one that I had in mind, actually, yeah. His face, anyway. Not saying that it's necessarily the same one, but... March 12th, 6:41 a.m., flight I-390, second floor, first class. Yeah, Clavier, yeah. Everyone, I am sorry to interrupt, but I have an important announcement. I am one of your flight attendants today, Rhoda Tenero. Unfortunately, we have just a minor accident on this flight. An accident? Don't treat us like we're stupid. I caught a glimpse in it. It was a murder. What? Murder? What's going on with this flight? Everyone, please calm down. There's no reason to panic. This flight will stay on course and make its scheduled landing. We are still currently in the middle of a rough patch of turbulence. So until we're out of this area of turbulence, I ask that you please remain seated. Nah, that's not him. That doesn't look like him. The victim was seated in first class like myself, but I don't know his name. Yeah, nah, okay, I take it back. It doesn't look like him. So until we are out of this area of turbulence, I ask that you please remain seated. But someone was killed, right? I mean, what about the killer? Let me off. Let me off? You want off the plane? Please, there is no need to feel threatened. We have already apprehended the culprit. Okay. I ask that everyone please remain calm. What the heck is he talking about? Why should we remain calm? My name is Miles Edgeworth. I am a prosecutor, and I assure you I am not the killer. Ha! Being a prosecutor doesn't make you incapable of murder, buddy. Now you listen here. I am not the killer. I simply found the body. Ooh, losing his temper. So you say. However, I am sure that you are the perpetrator of this crime. I swear on my honor as a professional flight attendant. Oh, is that right? I know what I saw. And there's even very strong incriminating evidence to back me up. What kind of incriminating evidence is she talking about? We've already alerted the proper authorities at our destination. Until we land, you will remain in our custody by the powers vested in our captain. I am very sorry, but please understand our situation. Your situation? I'm more concerned with mine than in the direction it's going in. I'm not about to just sit idly by while I get accused of murder. Mr. Nero, is it? Yes. I was wondering if you might give me a chance. A chance to do what? A chance to plead my case, and a chance to ask what you meant by incriminating evidence just now. To accuse a passenger of such a grave crime without allowing him to give a proper defense. Can the professional flight attendant inside of you really call this action righteous? You have a point. Very well, I'll listen to what you have to say. But be wary of what you reveal. I'm afraid you'll only look even more suspicious if your explanation fails to satisfy. I also do not have the time to deal with you all day, so please make it quick. Of course, as you wish. Good. Very well then. Let's get started. I know for a fact that I didn't kill that man in the elevator. What I don't know is what sort of evidence she has up her sleeve, but I'm certain it doesn't fit with how the crime really occurred. What Miss Tenero saw. I swear to tell the whole truth as a professional flight attendant. Unfortunately for you, Mr. Edgeworth, I am certain you are the killer. The scene I saw in front of me of the elevator, it was you standing there with fresh blood dripping off of the murder weapon. So if you would please cooperate, we'll turn you over just as soon as we land. The murder weapon? What murder weapon? That's it? That's her evidence? I don't think you could ask for a more perfect witness testimony. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Edgeworth? Not really. It's hardly perfect when there's a gaping hole in it. What murder weapon?
Hold it!
The murder weapon dripping with blood? Really now? I swear that was the grisly scene I saw before me. Thank goodness it wasn't the passenger who saw, or there'd be widespread panic by now. As I recall, you were quite panicked yourself at the time. Excuse me? You were scared enough to misread the situation and accuse me of murder. Nonsense. Professional flight attendants cannot afford to be that flustered. I witnessed the murder scene. Yeah, her mouth is twitching. I witnessed the murder scene and am now listening to your defense, all with a smile, a twitchy smile. Apparently you also lie with a smile on your face. You mean this murder weapon?
Objection!
Mr. Nero. What is with the yelling all of a sudden? Okay, so I was supposed to say it while yelling. Mr. Nero! What is with the yelling all of a sudden? Force of habit. Well, it doesn't matter. Mr. Nero, you say you saw the murder weapon dripping with blood. Is that correct? Yes, all that blood. Drip, drip, drip. Just recalling that scene sent a chill down my spine. Sorry, but your so-called professional flight attendant training has failed you. What? I'd like to direct your attention to this. Do you know what this is? It's a travel wallet, right? But it looks a little big and bulky. The thing you saw me holding when I discovered the dead body in the elevator was this very travel wallet, Mr. Nero. What? Impossible! Now then, do you still think I am the killer? That I killed him with a travel wallet? I saw blood dripping from the wallet. I know I did. As you can see, this wallet is clearly stained. But if you would be so kind as to take a whiff, I think you'd agree it's only grape juice. Then... That's right, you mistook grape juice for blood. The murder weapon dripping with blood does not in fact exist. No! There, that should clear up that pesky accusation. That would be too easy, I think, for just that one thing to clear me up of suspicion. Wait just a sec. That is, I mean, even a wallet could be deadly if it was wrapped around something heavy. I demand that you show me what's inside, please. She's trembling, and the tacked-on please at the end sounds like I've got her. There's no need to look inside. Even you can tell from its appearance that it's light. No, I can't be sure of anything until I see the contents of that wallet for myself. She's a persistent one. I suppose we have no choice but to see what's inside. And I bet there is something inside. Mr. Nero, if you would be so kind as to open the wallet and check its contents for me. Alright, I usually don't pry into passengers' belongings, but we have no choice here. Grape juice stains the outer cover. True, it was I who dropped it in the juice, however, I didn't do it out of ill intentions. Well, how do you open it? You press that thing here, maybe? Ah, yeah, okay. It seems that this passport is all that's in here. Okay, fair enough. As you saw, there is nothing but a passport inside. This renders your wallet was the murder weapon argument moot. Wouldn't you agree? Hold it. Please hear me out, Mr. Edgeworth. What is it now? Well, I was wondering whose passport is it exactly. Can I take a look? Why not? I'm rather curious myself. So his name is Hicks Hagby, Republic of Borginia. Borginia, we've heard that before. That wasn't Apollo Justice, wasn't it? It's that weird country that the Apollo Justice's mother was from, or something like that. The singer. Just as I thought. This travel wallet belonged to Mr. Agby Hicks, which makes it the victim's property. Wallet data updated in my organizer. You stole the victim's wallet, didn't you? How dare you? You said it yourself. You claimed to be holding this wallet in your hands when I found you. Perhaps I did misconstrue the wallet for the murder weapon, but it seems that I wasn't wrong about who the culprit is. Mr. Nero's logic. As you claimed, the murder weapon is not the travel wallet. However, it is something you stole from Mr. Hicks after you were done with the vile deed. I find it hard to believe myself, but your motive was very simple. You were out to steal Mr. Hicks's money, weren't you? But there's no money in there, you said so yourself. So even though I didn't have the murder weapon on me, you still suspect me, I see. You stood up at the crime scene with the victim's wallet in your hands. How can I turn a blind eye and not suspect you of foul play? There is but a passport inside. Okay. All times shown correspond to our departure time zone. That's a lot of detail. I think this might be relevant down the line. Body found at 6:15 AM inside the elevator. Stopped at the first floor lounge. However, it is something you stole from Mr. Hicks after you were done with the vile deed. Well, there was no money in the wallet. She said so herself, so...
Objection!
I wonder if I might get a word in, Mr. Nero. What is it now? Mr. Nero, I wonder if you noticed the contradiction within your own testimony. What are you talking about? Simply put, as you saw with your own eyes, the only thing inside Mr. Hicks's wallet was his passport. Ah, if I really was after his money, then why would I steal a penniless travel wallet? Ah, but that's right, you, Mr. Edgeworth, you didn't know it was empty when you stole it. Oh yeah? Where is the money now? Or I don't know. Well, yeah. Okay, no, fair enough. You would like to think that, but that's not possible. What do you mean it's not possible? There is no way the killer didn't know that the wallet was empty to begin with. Oh, and what makes you so sure? How can I show her that the killer knew the wallet to be empty from the get-go? Check. Oh, because the money is on the floor of the elevator. I didn't see that before.
Take that!
If you would recall the crime scene, I admit that the wallet was probably not empty at the time of the murder. That's pretty evident by the bills and cards strewn around the inside of the elevator. Oh, no! I think you've come to realize the problem with your logic. I would surmise that the victim's wallet fell out during their struggle, and that's when its contents emptied onto the floor of the elevator. I doubt that the killer could have missed such an occurrence. Then, you're saying... Yes, according to your supposition, if I were the killer, I would have been going after a wallet I knew to be empty. And since I clearly was not attempting to gather the scattered money, it renders your argument of theft completely invalid. Not to mention that the prosecutor probably makes enough money, especially if he's flying in first class. Forgive me, please. Hey, what the heck? Are you saying the attendant's wrong? So that guy isn't the killer? Huh, don't believe it, everyone. It's a trick. Will you all please be quiet? Mr. Nero. Yes? You lost your cool when you saw the dead body. Plus the lounge was dark, and looking into the light from the elevator, it's easy to see how you mistook the wallet in my hand for the murder weapon. I take no offense that you thought that I was the killer. Miss Edgeworth? Thank you for releasing me. Okay, well. This is Borginian speech. I remember that from Apollo Justice. Well, it's good that I played Apollo Justice before that one, I guess. Well, at least playing them in their order of release. It's better. What is it now? Mr. Nero, if you could please translate, I'd be much obliged. It sounds like Borginian, but I don't understand any of it. There's another attendant on this flight who... I said that he is giving the runabout. I don't require an interpreter. I speak English just well, see? You, the attendant. Yes, sir? I want this person to be under the arrest until we arrive at the airport. You're the culprit. I bet you're the culprit. I'm sorry, sir, but what exactly are you hoping for? What is it you want? I am finished talking to the likes of you. Please, I would like to hear why you would like me to be held under arrest until we land. You, how dare you try to waste my time? You were the one who stuck your nose into my affairs. I wanted to spend even at least one more second with my precious art. I have no time for other things. I know what you are. I see through you. Insolvent. Yes, I am pretty sure that's how you say it in English. Well, I'd hope that I don't dissolve in water, but I don't think that's what you meant. I'm sorry, but I don't think I caught your name. I am Zinc LeBlanc too. I am a very wealthy man in the Borginia. But I am not an ordinary rich man. I am an art dealer, a rich seller of beauty. Mr. LeBlanc, what did you mean just now? Pardon? When you said that Mr. Edgeworth was giving me the runabout, I have to explain? Unbelievable. I will say it once and only once. I do not have even a second to waste. Time is money, as they say. Yes, and yet you continue to blather on. I saw it. Yes, I did. I saw the victim go onto the elevator, going down to the lounge. It was exactly at 6 o'clock. And what's the significance of that time? At 6, he says. Wait, you saw him at 6? Ah, what's the matter, Mr. Edgeworth? He understands, I see. Miss Attendant, what time did you discover the body? Well, it was a little after that patch of turbulence, so I would say around 6:15. Ah, Hicks was his name, was it? Then I say that man Hicks was killed in the 15-minute time span. And the only person in the lounge at that time was this prosecutor, yes? Yeah, I was in my seat the whole time. Me too. I was watching the movie and enjoying a fine glass of grape juice. I was still eating, still haven't finished, see? The other passengers have an alibi, so you have no problem with them, I suppose. No compliant, I see. Not a single word against this, right? I have no way of discounting what you have put forth at this point, but it wasn't me. Oh, so you say, but do you have what you say, the evidence? Mr. Edgeworth, are you really the culprit after all? Mr. LeBlanc, I suppose you are quite certain it was in what you saw, enough to give testimony? Of course, I was looking at that man the whole time. He was playing with that annoying little, small machine the whole time. Machine? Yes, that's what you people call it in English, yes? It was making me crazy with the click, click, click. From that description, it sounds like some sort of small computer. I believe what Mr. LeBlanc is talking about is a cell phone. I have to say that I did see him playing with it quite a bit myself. A simple cell phone, a laptop, or organizer I can see. But that's kind of low budget. I hate that noisy little machine in his hand. Not a fragment of beauty, all it produces is ugly sounds. Anyway, I know what I saw. Mr. Nero? Yes? I was wondering if I might be granted permission to examine the crime scene. What? You want to examine the crime scene? If you would grant me a little measure of time, I'm sure I can produce the real culprit. I don't like the sound of that. Fox in the duck pen. Yes, I think that is how you say it in English. It's Fox guarding the henhouse, but I believe my innocence was proven earlier. And if I'm given the chance, I can clear up all the remaining doubts. Mr. Nero, if you wait until we arrive, there is a good chance that some evidence will have been destroyed by then. I understand. Let me see what the captain has to say. Ha! This should not be approved. Please, Mr. LeBlanc, in an emergency, all decisions are to be made by the captain alone. Now, please wait here while I go ask the captain what to do. I'll be right back. You are not planning to erase evidence when you are doing your investigation, yes? Of course not. Ha! We will see. She's coming back. Mr. Edgeworth, you have the captain's permission to investigate the crime scene. What? Unbelievable! I am in your debt, Mr. Nero. However, there is one condition. I am to supervise you. Can you agree to that? She's gonna be the character accompanying me during the investigation, like Gumshoe was last time, I suppose. Of course, I see no problem with that stipulation. It's only natural, as I am still a suspect in this case. Grrr! I take full responsibility and will watch Mr. Edgeworth's every move. I hope this is a reassurance enough that there will be no foul play. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, shall we proceed? If you should need my help with anything, please feel free to touch the partner button. It's time to head to the scene of the crime, the first floor lounge. Well, I'm gonna stop here for tonight. And we will continue tomorrow. I've got the gist of the case already laid out now, like the first few elements. And tomorrow we will start investigating the scene then. I'm liking it so far. It's a fresh change from the traditional Apollo Justice. Feels good. Yep, you guys are welcome. Thanks, Panda. And, well, take care of yourselves, guys. I will be back tomorrow night then. Hopefully not too late. See ya!